Beetlejuice Beetlejuice is the long-awaited sequel where we meet back up with the Dietz family, this time 35 years later, where an unexpected death in the family brings them all together to an all-familiar house where an old forgotten demon is ready to terrorize them once again. And that's all pretty much it. Without giving any spoilers to you guys, this will be a spoiler-free review. Let's talk about the juice. Spot on Beetlejuice impression, you gotta admit. So when it comes to the Beetlejuice franchise, if you're a fan of the channel, you'll know I'm the #1 Beetlejuice fan on this planet. And if you're new to the channel, that is a complete lie. I was someone that watched Beetlejuice when I was a kid, and for some reason, it just didn't click with me then, and the minute I mentioned that here on the channel, I was hit with a lot of pushback. A lot of people going, Chris, you need to give it another chance, because what the heck, man. And so a few months ago, I did exactly that, and yeah, I don't know why it didn't hit me the first time. That movie is really great. But as a late bloomer to the franchise, I'm not someone that necessarily has the huge nostalgic attachment to it, so I wasn't really all that excited for a sequel, and heck, I've seen what happens sometimes with these legacy sequels. They rarely ever turn out to be good. If anything, they're just a sad reminder that these great people that you once admired in an old movie how now I've just gotten old. So now, having walked out of the second movie, I'm here to say it was a good time, but so close to a great time. Jumping on to the positives here for a second, of course, Michael Keaton has not lost his step. The thing they did this time around was include a lot more of Michael Keaton, but it never becomes overbearing. That is one of the things I was most afraid of. When you go to watch that first Beetlejuice movie and you realize Michael Keaton really doesn't show up till much later in the film, and even then only has about 9-10 minutes of screen time, in the sequel you knew they would include him more, because that's just what the audience expects, but there was a part of me that thought, he might be an annoyance. He might not be as great when he's there all the time, but I feel like they utilize him the right amount of time, and Keaton just slips right into that role so easily. Every other line is just comedic fun, and even with the extended screen time he gets here, you're still left wanting more of him. Jenna Ortega's inclusion I was most curious about, because I wanted to see if she would just end up playing Wednesday again, and thankfully she doesn't. While she still has that moody, angsty teen feel that rebels against her parent, there were other aspects of her character that let her stand apart. I was also a giant fan of all the visual effects in this movie. While it's a huge mixture of practical, stop motion, claymation, CGI, Tim Burton is just having a hootenanny fun time. That's what made me most realize why people really dig the world, is just all the creative visuals that Tim Burton can pull out and visual gags along with that. Because you gotta admit, one of the funnest parts of seeing a Beetlejuice movie is the afterlife. Looking at characters and knowing right away how a character died. And heck, speaking on the afterlife, that is something that gets expanded in this movie. That's what I was most curious, is seeing different aspects we didn't get a look at the first time around. And one of those expansions comes with the inclusion of Willem Dafoe. He plays Wolf Jackson, who's this detective with an interesting death backstory, but is ultimately investigating a crime happening in the afterlife, and that's just something new and unexpected. Who knew there was detectives and police crime solving in the afterlife? Like, you're dead. You're gonna investigate another dead? But Willem Dafoe is probably one of the funnier characters in this movie, and just seeing him kind of ham it up, I quite enjoyed. And on that, the movie never takes itself too seriously. I think that's one of the things that'll help you ease back into the Beetlejuice world, is that there is a bit of camp and cheese to it. You're not supposed to look at Beetlejuice and think about the plot holes, the loopholes, or the things that don't exactly fit within reality, because it's a whole fantastical universe, and they're constantly just trying to make you have fun. And ultimately, that is what I had with Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. It's just a lot of fun. It was great getting back into that universe. Bonus part that this movie also has like a good Halloween aesthetic to it, because the film is set around Halloween. So there's times watching this where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put this on while carving a pumpkin someday, or while just making some Halloween treats, because it's just gonna get you in that mood. But with all that said though, I do think there are some things in Beetlejuice 2 that are holding it back from being a great sequel and just having it kind of be okay. Now, although you see me clearly say I had a good time with it, it did take me a while for me to fully get back on board into this universe. I would say the first 20-30 minutes is a little rough. You're getting reintroduced into this world and catching up to where all the characters are, and it sometimes feels a little off, where you're like, ugh, This is what I feared, is just re-meeting back up with characters I love 35 years later while they've also aged. It's not all that thrilling. There was a serious thought in my mind about 20-30 minutes in where I was like, I think I'm gonna be one of the people walking out not liking this movie. But thankfully, the plot picks up, storylines start to unfold, and there's a sense of urgency that happens in the movie that really kicks things off. But then even when things kick off and get interesting and real exciting, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice sets up so many different plot threads, and not all of them will get satisfying conclusions or attention. Like almost every character in here has something they're doing, and I do applaud Beetlejuice Beetlejuice for doing that, not just retreading the same story points from the first movie. This film doesn't really feel like it's wanting to nostalgia bait you, throw in an Easter egg or a reference every other second, which has recently become a thing that really seems to annoy people. And thankfully, the second movie doesn't do that. It takes its own story approach and does something different. But I do think each character in this movie having a vital subplot and story thread that then all has to come to a clash at the end makes the movie feel a little anticlimactic when it ends. Like, just getting on to a couple of them, the bride with Beetlejuice. That was an interesting aspect I wanted more of, and it does open into the origin of Beetlejuice, which I thought was nice. But this is a character that gets set up like very early on into the movie, and she's put on this mission to go hunt Beetlejuice down, and the movie kind of builds up their eventual meetup, their clash, what's gonna happen when she comes face to face with Beetlejuice, and when that moment comes, it is short-lived and feels kind of breezed by. A similar situation happens with Jenna Ortega and a boy she meets up with in this movie, which was the urgency part that really got me interested, but because so much is going on, that plot line gets resolved rather quickly and anticlimactic. An early subplot involving the father of Jenna Ortega's character and Winona Ryder's husband, that was also a subplot that I felt like if the movie was able to dedicate a little bit more time to, or flesh a little bit more, it could have honestly have been a real emotional hit for this movie. But again, the film kind of breezes by it because it has so many other storylines going on. You guys let me know when you go to watch Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, because I'm telling you, the way this thing ends, it just feels kind of like, it feels like more should have happened. But really, that's kind of about it. I still think there's enough in here for you to have fun with it, to just jump back into the world. It is still a really good time. I think as far as the legacy of Beetlejuice goes, the first one will still remain an all-time classic, and this will just pair nicely as a fun side story, but nothing more. So when it comes to Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, I'm gonna give action 3 stars. Most of that comes into the afterlife, and that's always where I have the most fun in the Beetlejuice world, is seeing all the different aspects, the different mechanics, and just the way Tim Burton brought to life some of those visual effects I quite enjoyed. Commenting the movie, I'm also gonna give it 3 stars. I don't think this one is as funny as the first film. Michael Keaton still has a lot of great moments, and there is this side character named Bob that, oh my god, had me laughing so hard. But those laughs weren't as frequent like in the first movie. Drama in the movie, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. I think the story was suitable enough. Props on them for not leaning too much on story plot points from the first film. They tried different things, but they had a little too many stories, and with that, there wasn't always a happy conclusion to all those stories. Horror in the movie, I'll give 1 star too. I still think of Beetlejuice as that family-friendly horror movie. It's that movie you show to a kid to maybe peek them into the horror world, then you show them the hard stuff later on. And suspense in the movie, I'm gonna give it 2.5 stars. The most suspense I had was with the Jenna Ortega storyline. Every other storyline, you could kind of predict where it was headed. Casual moviegoers into the Beetlejuice world, I'm gonna give it a B+. Cinephiles, I'm gonna give it a B-. And critically, I'm going to give it a B-. Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, although not being a perfect sequel, I still think is a lot of fun and worth enjoying in theaters. Again, that's just my opinion on the movie, guys. I'm going to be really curious to hear from you. What did you think about Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Were you disappointed? Were you happy with the movie? Do you agree that it's good, not great? Would love to know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.